Hey guys, nothing important here, and today I have the meme, the myth, the legend, the Master Reaper. Say hi.
Yo.
Don't worry, he doesn't bite much. Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna do a collab on Savathun from Destiny and Witch Queen versus versus that one Unequal character that people make all the time. Who is it? Oh yeah, that's right, Featherine. So
Yes.
I guess Michael and I are going to get into equal and unequal stats. We're going to go over unequal stats first, and then go over equal stats later.
Yes.
With that, you want to get started with Featherine?
All right. So basically, I'm sure a lot of you already know Featherine's basic abilities, but for those of you who don't, I'll basically go over. Basically, Featherine transcends an infinite hierarchy within the Umineko verse. She transcends the sea of nothingness, the sea of fragments, which views the entire verse minus the creator's domain as fiction, and she can be scaled to like outer to high outer based off of this alone, depending on like how you get it.
Okay, so starting with Savathun. There's actually multiple variations of Savathun, and that is scaled differently depending on the version of Savathun we're discussing because there's a lot of lore for Savathun. So, start off, between the three hive gods, they are each different concepts. Oryx is curiosity and understanding, Savathun is war itself, and Savathun is cunning and lies. Savathun is more or less an abstract mind god between the three of the hive gods. The three hive gods got their power by doing a bargain with the worm gods. The worm gods are the children of Zeta, who then gave herself to Rolk so that the worms would have power. This then leads to the ascended cosmology scaling that I'll get into now. It works by you have to give your god a certain amount of tribute, and that by passing enough tribute along in the chain, you then get power for yourself as well. Eventually, you get enough power to get this place called a throne space or a throne world. A throne space is the space where you can define the axioms of the space, where you can create your own rules, and everything that happens within the world can be dictated to how you want it to be. This is no longer mere reality warping, but dictating of reality itself, or subjective reality. So, there's a beyond infinite amount of these hive from what we know about Works' network. And within this network, it's stated by Zavala in one of the runes as there's an infinite amount of these hive, that there's an infinite amount of infinite hive. I'll put the scan on the screen. So as you can see, Zavala is very clearly talking about Oryx's network, and that this leads to the amount of hive that have to be within the Ascendant Plane, because Oryx's throne world is actually the top of the Ascendant Plane. So how the Ascendant Plane work is the worlds themselves, they stack. This question was posed in the Crota lore before Taken King came out a long time ago. So it asks the question of whether or not they exist by each other or stacking above each other. We see that Oryx outscales Crota, and that we're able to see that Korea is not really able to harm Oryx in his own throne. So we know that the strength of the throne worlds is tied to the authority of the beings themselves who have the throne worlds. Now, going back to the thrones themselves, though, there's a beyond infinite amount of these, and that they're all axiomatic differences between each other, and they go greater, and they go wider, and wider, and greater, as you go up and up and up the thrones. Within the thrones, we know that there's a point where you get to inaccessible scaling. So we know that inaccessible axiomatic differences then become the defining factor of how it goes up and up and up and up and up and up at that point. Now, I'm sure I can make better arguments for higher tiers, but that's not the point. Anyway, for Savathun, Master Reaper and I actually had this conversation the other day. He actually believes that Savathun just full on slaps in terms of scaling.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. To put it simply, Like, you can argue all day about whether or not Featherine can be considered high outer, whatever. But like, Savathun outscales Oryx, who can destroy axioms casually, from what I've heard, and I
Yeah,
mean that
the daughter's
alone.
downscale.
Yes, uh, I mean that alone pretty much seals the deal in my eyes.
Yeah. So now that's for unequal stats. Let's get into the topic of equal stats. So, what is Featherine's abilities for equal stats?
So basically, like her main the big abilities that she has are plot manipulation and conceptual manipulation within the verse. She exists in like a higher domain. She basically views she can basically manipulate like the plot of the verse. Beings in her world defined are defined by like a conceptual form, and they can like resist attacks on a conceptual level. Uh, she has durability negation, uh, existence erasure, information manipulation by like manipulating her plot, uh, void manipulation, soul manipulation. I think that's basically just the gist of it.
Alright. So, I'll get into Savathun's abilities. So, if you've seen my Vex video, then you already know at this point that a lot of the characters in the verse upscale from the Vex, and the Vex themselves have narrative hacks. So, going off the video, we'll go ahead and make the argument for Savathun. Savathun directly upscales above Korya via the fact that she tricked the witness and got a massive power increase, which at the time should have put her above Oryx within the high hierarchy scaling chain. And then that's before she got Imbaru in Season of the Lost. So, Savathun is a really strong character in terms of intelligence, just to name one thing. Actually, to give another feat, Savathun actually manipulated the events of Shadowkeep. She possibly manipulated the events of Forsaken, and we know that Savathun knew that she'd be able to outspeed Marasov in their encounter, even if she's immobile. So, Savathun is actually even defined in Witch Queen. Savathun has a strategy that usually hinges on her having more information on her target. And we see this being brought into play, which shows that she's a very brutal tactician in the middle of a fight if need be, or just to get herself out of a fight. So, for some other abilities for Savathun, because she has access to the light and dark, she's a paracausal being. This means she has multiple forms of immortality, with one of those being her hive immortality. With the light, she has access to solar manipulation, which allows her to empower her attacks. She has cure and restoration, and she's able to burn you away out of existence. That's the gist of her solar abilities. We know she's able to use similar abilities to what Guardians have, so we don't know if she can do the Golden Gun, Roaring Hammer, or if she can somehow do the Well of Radiance bit. So that'd be somewhat debatable for the audience to contend with themselves. But another thing to talk about is that Savathun has Void Manipulation. Void Manipulation allows her to basically rule within the domain of time, space, and gravity, and magnetism. The Void allows Savathun to essentially control all those things to her whims, meaning she can open and close portal gates, she can walk through dimensions with raw movement to teleport, she can change the magnetism of a particular area, and she can modify the gravity of a particular area. She can manipulate time and manipulate space. That's all under the domain of Void.
And what was that one? What was that one ability where if you saw an image of her, she would become like more immortal?
Oh yeah, so I'll get into that bit a little later. So, with her last ability, it's Arc. Now, ignoring her darkness abilities, because we know she still uses her darkness abilities or darkness tricks, which has been described by Ikora. And anyway, going back to Arc, Savathun is able to more or less erase you from existence via electric shocks. She can more or less do the same things lightning can, but where she can make herself move massively faster, she can give herself a haste boost via arc, and she can also stop your heart via multiple arc attacks if she can't erase you from existence. Now, for the foreshadowed thing, uh, in the Witch Queen Reddit puzzle, it's revealed that Savathun is actually trying to find her way out of the game through using this form of immortality that allows her to live in the minds of people outside of the game. Savathun has this ability known as Mbaru. This is her entire philosophy is called Mbaru. Everything she can do is all under this ability called the Mbaru. Mbaru allows her to basically become stronger if her opponents make a miscalculation about herself. If someone makes a mistake against Savathun or plays into a plan of hers, Savathun gets more powerful. If Savathun manages to get the drop on you or manages to play a trick on you and it works, if she manages to essentially use her cunning and lie to you, she can empower herself through Mbaru. That's what her new system is. So Savathun has a lot of abilities under her belt, in the form of, say, Nova Bombs, throwing knives. She can summon thunderstorms. She can drop lightning bolts on you. She can do a lot of stuff. She can probably command you to die, and you'd be dead. There would be no A to B, it'd just be A, B. You'd be dead. And then, of course, she can law manipulate you. And, of course, she can simply just render you fiction. And that's that. So, Savathun has a lot of abilities. I do not think Featherine has a counter to enough of them, since Savathun should have very similar enough scaling and hacks, since you've seen my Vex video.
Yeah. Pretty much every type of hacks or manipulation that Featherine has, Savathun also has, plus more.
The problem is Savathun is one step ahead of the equation abilities.
Yeah.
So Savathun, it's important to realize that while Featherine is a very powerful character, there are other characters from other verses that can match, if not surpass her.
Yeah.
And the problem is in this regard is that when they're going to be fighting each other, they're going to be doing the passive style that witches do when they fight. Savathun fights somewhat in that fashion. The problem is Savathun is conceptually that particular role. And while Featherine conceptually and narratively is a witch, Savathun has equal or greater scaling if we're going to compare capacity.
Yeah.
So there's not really much else to say other than Featherine gets reduced to a pulp when Savathun is done beating her to death like she's Jolene Cujo. So my drop.
Yeah. I remember when everyone used to say that Featherine was the strongest fucking thing in fiction. Strange how times change, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say Destiny got a lot stronger too, which also adds more fun to the occasion.
Yes. And if you guys
it's only going to get more powerful, by the way. When this season continues on and finally ends, because a new season started. Then there's next season, and then after that there's Lightfall.
Yeah. And if you guys want to see more Destiny scaling, go check out Nothing's channel. He has like a lot of scaling on that, and Destiny is a lot more OP than it looks. Seriously.
Yeah. Like I had this talk with Reaper yesterday, and we were like gonna compare characters. I fucking shook this man on the spot after like 2 minutes of some Savathun lore. Like, God
yes.
Straight up.
Especially with that creepy ass ability that Savathun had.
Yeah.
The ability to get into the viewer's head.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, if you guys want more cool stuff, like this, go watch my stuff. If you want to watch some SCP content and other niche content Michael does, go to his channel, sub to him, because he's the GOAT. So,
Yep.
anyway, I hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
Later, y'all.